Afternoon, everyone. Thomas, KN4MDE, ham radio active. Slightly different format than I usually do here. I'm just sitting here at Arkham Acres, the Home 20. Actually have the smoker running right over here, doing a little barbecuing this afternoon. Wanted to address a few things that have come up recently. Of course, I'm sure many of you have seen the post, the FCC delete. That caused quite a stir in the ham radio community. If you read through what they posted in that, they weren't really, nothing in it actually said anything about amateur radio. What they are looking at is trimming some things, changing some things, maybe getting rid of some old rules and regulations that are causing issues or keeping things from being as efficient as they could. Jason over at Ham Radio 2.0, he did a great job covering this. There'll be a link to his video either there, I'm not real good at putting them there, so it'll be down in the description. I encourage you to go over and look at that. Also, I encourage you to read through it. FCC, like many other government organizations, they're looking at, trimming things down, making things more efficient. And I think that's what the entire letter was about, the post was about, and all the stir has been about. Now, a week or so later, Ham Radio Perspectives put out a video addressing, or opening up a discussion, I guess you could say, on their thoughts on this. And again, there'll be a link to it down below in the description. They started discussing going to a 2-license system. Technician, and I believe one of them called it a legacy license or extra, but giving the technician a wider bandwidth that they can use. I commented on that video. Either way doesn't matter to me. You can do a 2-license or you can keep it at 3-license like we have with technician, general, and extra. But I do believe if we're going to grow the hobby and get more people involved, I think giving a little more HF space to technicians, other than just that little sliver of 10 megahertz they have, I think that would do wonders as far as bringing others into the hobby, getting others interested, and getting these younger ones in there, and they can actually do more than just UHF and VHF. Someone asked me in the comments, how do I envision that working? Okay, like I said, 2-license, 3-license, that really doesn't matter to me. But on technician, okay, let's say we give technicians 20 megahertz and up, so they have 20, 17, 15, 12, and 10, but maybe restrict the wattage on it. Okay, you have 25 watts on 20 and higher. Anyone who owns a G90, which I have one inside, 20 watts HF, right antenna, you can do wonders with that. This will give your younger hams the ability to get out and do more. Allow them to get involved in POTA and SOTA. Allow them to get into FT8. Get into some of the contesting. Without having to use someone else's call sign and someone else getting the points for contacts. That's my personal suggestion. 20 megahertz and higher. Restrict them to 25 watts. I believe it's England, their foundation license. I think they have 25 watts on HF that they're allowed to use. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I think that would be a great way to help younger hams, those just getting their license. Let them get into doing more on ham radio and expand the hobby. That way we can keep this hobby alive, keep things going. Again, 2 licenses, 3 licenses doesn't really matter. Not to me personally. I'm happy with the 3 license system we have. Now, one thing I did notice, when Ham Radio Perspectives put theirs up and they started talking about 2 license, the new car smell had not even worn off the video when I started seeing posts on there. You know, why don't we just give them a ham license, you know, instead of them having to work for it? I had to take 5 tests to get mine. I had to have CW to get mine. If you don't know CW at 25 words a minute, you're not a real ham. Enough, guys. We really need to stop doing things like this. And yeah, I know I'm probably gonna get flamed for that. I don't care. I've heard it. I've heard people make that comment on the air. I've heard of people make that comment to young hams. Well, if you don't know CW, you're not a real ham. If you didn't have to take 5 tests, if you didn't have to drive to an FCC testing center, guess what? Times have changed. Move on. If they passed technician, general, extra, they are every bit as much extra as you are with your 5 test and your 25 words a minute. You know, I'm sorry that, you know, not all of us had to tear apart an old TV and build a ham radio from scratch. Do I think people who took all 5 tests, who had to have the 25 words a minute, were better grounded? Okay, yes. You're better grounded in the technology and the know-how behind everything. The test for extra covers everything you need to know. Get the test, get on the air. It doesn't matter if you had to take 1 test, 2 tests, it doesn't matter. The thing that's hurting our hobby right now is people making comments like that. Like I said, I've heard them make those comments to young hams. Well, you know, my day we had to take 5 tests. Okay, I'm sorry you had to take 5 tests. We only had to take 3. Do not discourage young hams. You should be celebrating the fact that they got their license, that they're continuing the hobby, that this hobby is continuing to grow because of people like them. Don't degrade them because, oh, they didn't have to do what you did, or they didn't have to know this, or they didn't have to build this. It's a hobby. It's here for us to enjoy. Let's enjoy it. Let's celebrate the fact that we have 12, 13, 14-year-olds who are passing all 3 tests and getting their extra and getting on the air. Let's celebrate with them. Let's rejoice. Hey, great job. You did a great job getting here. You know, give them pointers. Hey, you know, if you do this and do this, you know, give them those pointers, give them those help. Be Elmers to them. Teach them. Don't rag them or degrade them because you think they're not a full-blown ham because they didn't have to drive to Atlanta or somewhere and pass a 25 words a minute CW and 5 different tests. That's in the past. I'm sorry, we need to move on. We need to stop doing that. I am not going to use the term that others so frequently coin in videos. I'm not going to call, you know, them that, you know, the disgruntled, you know, pigs. We're not going to use that term. I don't like that term. It's cliche. What it is just people who need to let go of the past. They need to embrace what's here now. They need to encourage those who have gotten their license and encourage them to continue the hobby. First airplane, it's gone over all day and it's waited till I started filming. Gotta love it. But anyway, just wanted to come on here, say my piece on that, give my thoughts on it. If you agree with me, disagree with me, put it in the comments below. I'm willing to talk to anyone who's willing to have a civil conversation. Like I said, for technician, give them 20, 17, 15, 12, 10. Let's restrict it to 25 watts if you want to. And that way they can get their feet wet, they can get on FT8, they can do parks on the air, summits on the air, they can get more involved in the hobby. Because the ones that are coming in now are more technical, they're more apt to use FT8, they're more apt to do all the different things that some of us don't. Me personally, I mostly do single sideband. But these younger ones are wanting to learn. They're wanting to get on there and do things. One, let's encourage them when we see them pass tests. Let's encourage them when they get that technician to continue growing. Two, stop discouraging people. Stop saying you're not a real ham because you didn't do this, and whatever. Just my 2 cents worth. Wanted to put that out there. I apologize. I haven't posted in a while. I'm going to be posting some more videos. I've got antenna builds to do. Hopefully going to be putting my shack back together soon. We hope. I'll be putting an antenna up, burying cable going out to it. Got to put a tower up. Not looking forward to that. But stay tuned and like, thumbs up, all that good stuff. Tell me what you think. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent in the comments on what I had to say. KN4 MDE Radioactive, get out, enjoy our hobby. Have a good day.